A thin, repetitive scratching echoed through the dim hospice corridor. Linda Reyes stopped outside room 4, clipboard pressed to her chest. She pushed the door open and froze. On the snow-covered sill outside the window, a pregnant bobcat sat utterly still, its amber eyes glowing through the glass. The wild animal's massive paw was pressed flat to the pane, perfectly mirroring Mary's wrinkled palm on the other side.
You see her now? She comes every night.
Linda's hands went numb. The stainless steel tray slipped, crashing against the linoleum. Medications scattered, a syringe rolling into the dark. The bobcat held her gaze for one long, haunting moment, then turned and vanished into the swirling snow.
She's come to say goodbye.
It wasn't random. She knew.
Mary's hand never moved from the glass. Outside, only snow and silence remained. Linda stared at the empty sill, the cold seeping through the pane. The night was quiet again, but nothing would ever be the same. The next morning, pale winter light filled Mary's room. Linda stood at the foot of the bed, watching the old woman sleep.
Karen, last night, I saw a bobcat outside Mary's window. A real, pregnant bobcat, pressing its paw to the glass.
Mary's been talking about a wild cat for weeks. It's the medication, Linda. End-of-life confusion. I've seen it before.
It wasn't a hallucination. I saw its notched ear, the white patch under its chin. It was real.
Notched ear? You sound like Mary now. Hallucinations can be vivid. I'll note it in her chart. But don't fuel it.
Linda's jaw tightened. She knew what she saw, but Karen's certainty planted a seed of doubt.
She's pregnant. She needs a safe place. You saw her too, didn't you?
I saw something, but the nurses think it's just a trick of the mind.
It's not. She's real. And she trusts me. Will you help her?
Mary's eyes were too clear, too lucid. This wasn't confusion. But if I push too hard, they'll think I'm losing it too.
That night, Linda rigged her tablet to face the window, hit record, and left the room dark. At dawn, she scrolled through the footage. The timestamp read 2:33 a.m. when the screen flickered with movement. The bobcat materialized on the sill, breath fogging the cold, and pressed a paw to the glass. On the other side, Mary's hand rose to meet it.
Her heart hammered. Every detail matched. The notched ear, white chin, deliberate press. It was undeniable.
She found Karen at the nurse's station and thrust the phone toward her, already playing the clip.
What is? Wait, that's the window? That's Mary? And that's, my God, Linda, that's a bobcat.
It's real. And she's pregnant. Mary said she comes every night. I think she's telling the truth.
This changes things. If the board finds out a wild animal is visiting patients, they'll call animal control.
We can't let that happen. Mary needs this. I don't know why, but it matters.
They stood in silence, the video looping between them, a silent pact forming that this secret was too fragile for the authorities. Linda and Karen found Dr. Harper in his office and showed him the video, their faces grim.
A pregnant bobcat on the windowsill. This is a lawsuit waiting to happen. I am ordering that window sealed and blinds drawn at night, no exceptions.
Within the hour, maintenance locked the casement and pulled the blinds tight. Mary watched them, hollow-eyed.
You are taking her away. She's my last visitor.
It's for your safety, Mary. A wild animal could hurt you, and we can't risk that.
She needs me. I am the only one who knows what she needs. We've been waiting for each other.
That night, the bobcat appeared at 2:33 a.m. She sniffed the sealed window, her ears swiveling. She scratched once, then again, more frantically. A low, mournful meow escaped her, cutting through the night. Inside, Mary's hand flattened on the glass, her face wet with grief. In the hallway, Linda stopped, her heart twisting in guilt.
Mary is slipping away because of me. I took the one thing keeping her here.
Linda came to Mary's room early, her guilt a stone in her throat. Mary was listless, barely eating.
Mary, tell me about her. The Bobcat. Why does she matter so much to you?
30 years ago, my husband David found an orphaned bobcat kitten tangled in a fence. He was a wildlife rehabber. He named her Lila. We raised her in the farmhouse. She drank from a bottle, slept in our bed. She had a notch in her left ear from the barbed wire, and the widest chin.
Mary fumbled beneath her pillow and pulled out a creased photograph, extending it with trembling fingers.
That's her. The day David released her. He always said wild things, remember kindness.
Linda took the photo. Her eyes found the kitten's ear, the same jagged notch, the same white chin. Her breath caught.
It was the exact same Bobcat. The one outside the window. But saying it out loud felt like madness.
She handed the photo back, a fragile silence settling between them.
If David were here, he'd open that window. He'd say she came back because she remembers.
After her shift, Linda stayed alone at the nurse's desk, the department silent around her. She typed David Harlow, Bobcat release Lila, into a decades-old wildlife rehabilitation database. A scanned form loaded. Notes in fading type. Lila, female, notched left ear from fence accident. White chin.
Her hand trembled as she held her phone beside the screen, comparing the video still to the old description.
The notch in the ear. The stark white chin. Every detail aligned. It wasn't a descendant. It was Lila.
A 30-year-old wild bobcat. It's impossible, unless she remembered. Unless she came back to find Mary.
She leaned back, her heart hammering. The proof was irrefutable, but who would ever believe it?
If I tell anyone, they'll dismiss it as fantasy, just like they did with Mary's first claims. I can't share this yet.
She closed the laptop and sat in the dim glow, the secret pressing on her ribs like a stone.
Mary knew. She must have known the moment she saw that ear. And she didn't say a word.
The next morning, Linda pulled Karen into a quiet corner of the nurse's station, her expression unreadable.
I need to show you something. It's going to sound crazy, but just look.
She opened the old photo on her phone and set it beside the video still from the window. 2 images, 30 years apart, yet undeniably the same.
This is the same cat? Linda, that's impossible. The notched ear, it's a wild coincidence.
It's not a coincidence. The rehab records from 30 years ago describe the exact same markings. That's Lila, the kitten Mary raised.
You are saying this predator has been tracking Mary for decades? That's...
It sounds insane. I know. But Mary knew. She never said anything because she thought no one would believe her.
Okay, maybe. Maybe it's possible. But what can we do? The window is sealed, and Dr. Harper won't listen to a ghost story.
We go to him together. We present the evidence. If he sees that this isn't a random animal, he might reconsider before Mary.
Karen nodded slowly, the weight of the secret now shared. They had a plan, but the clock was ticking. Before they could reach Dr. Harper, he summoned them to the hallway, his face drained of color.
The board reviewed the incident log. Animal control will trap the Bobcat in 48 hours. The order is non-negotiable.
Mary's door was cracked open. The words slithered in, and she sat bolt upright, oxygen tubing tangling.
No, you can't cage her. She's come all this way. She's carrying babies. Please.
Her monitors shrieked. Linda rushed to her side, pressing the call button as Mary's breathing turned ragged.
She's destabilizing. Karen, I can't stand by while they take the one thing keeping her alive.
Harper won't bend without irrefutable proof that this isn't just sentiment, and we're out of time to convince him.
In her room, Mary's hand lay limp on the blanket. Her gaze was fixed on the sealed window, a silent vigil.
All she needs is a safe place. And I can't even give her that.
Outside, snow began to fall again, heavy, relentless, as if the world itself was closing in. Linda returned to Mary's room that evening, her phone clutched tight. She had to know the truth.
Mary, I compared the photos. The notched ear, the white chin. This Bobcat. She's Lila, isn't she?
I knew the moment I saw her ear. I knew. I never said anything because they'd just call me crazy again, and she came back. That was enough.
Why didn't you tell me? I could have helped sooner.
Because it was my secret, my gift. She remembered me after all these years.
Linda looked from Mary to the sealed window, a fierce new resolve hardening in her chest.
They're going to take her away. She's about to give birth. Promise me you'll stop them.
I promise. I don't know how, but I won't let them trap her. We'll find a way.
Outside, the blizzard thickened. 34 hours remained until the traps would arrive. Linda and Karen cornered Dr. Harper in the conference room, their faces drawn. They laid out the photos, the records, Mary's quiet confession.
It's not a wild coincidence. That Bobcat is Lila, the kitten Mary raised 30 years ago. She came back to say goodbye.
I believe you, but the board only sees liability. I can't override them. Mary has days left, if that.
The monitor outside Mary's room began a stuttering alarm. Karen rushed to check, her face paling as she read the numbers.
She's crashing. Linda, we're running out of time.
Then the window is the only way. I'll open it tonight. I don't care what the board says.
Mary's eyes flickered open. She reached for Linda's hand, her grip surprisingly strong for a moment.
Promise me you'll let her in if you can. I need to see her babies. Then I can go.
Linda nodded silently, her throat too tight for words. The pact was sealed. Through the sealed glass, a shadow moved in the snow. The Bobcat was back, circling, waiting. By midnight, the hospice was silent but for the wind. Mary's eyes were closed, her breathing a thread.
She's fading faster than I predicted. Linda, she may not see morning.
Linda turned to the window. Through the glass, the Bobcat's amber eyes blazed, her paw scraping against the pane.
The trap was coming at dawn. This was the only moment. I had to keep my promise.
She slid the lock and pushed. The frame creaked open a sliver to the storm. Frigid air rushed in, carrying the scent of snow and wild fur. Mary's eyelids fluttered.
You are here. You found me.
I'd broken every rule, risked my license. But watching Mary's face, I knew this was the only choice that ever mattered.
The Bobcat did not retreat. She pressed her nose to the gap, breathing the same air as the woman who'd raised her. Mary's hand crept toward the gap. The Bobcat's paw mirrored it, inches away. Then, with a grace that belied her swollen belly, the Bobcat leaped from the sill to the patio below, landing softly in the fresh snow. Linda gasped. She sprinted to the supply closet, grabbed a cardboard box and the thick wool blanket from Mary's bed, and returned to the window. She placed the box just outside the glass, lining it with the blanket. The Bobcat eyed her warily, then stepped closer. After a long moment, the Bobcat circled the makeshift nest twice, then settled into the blanket with a heavy sigh, her massive body curling tightly. Mary's hand trembled against the window. Her breathing was shallow, but her eyes, those eyes were fixed, lucid.
That's it, Mary. She's right there. You can see her.
Then the Bobcat's body tensed. A low, primal moan escaped her throat, fogging the cold air. Contractions had started. Linda felt Mary's pulse quicken under her fingers. The old woman's lips moved, forming a single, silent word. Lila. Outside, the Bobcat panted, her flanks slick with snowmelt. She pushed, her muscles straining visibly beneath the fur. Linda held her breath. The world outside the window had narrowed to this, a wild mother, a dying woman, and the fragile thread between. With trembling fingers, Linda typed a message to Karen. She's in labor. Come now. Then she pressed send and held Mary's hand tighter. Karen burst through the door, still in her winter coat, her breath ragged from running through the snow.
Oh my God, Linda. Is that she's really giving birth right there?
Outside, the bobcat cried out once more, a primal, piercing note, and the first kitten emerged, a tiny wet form against the blanket. Mary's eyes locked on the scene. A single tear traced down her cheek, carving a path through her weary skin. Her trembling hand, still pressed to the glass, traced the tiny silhouette of the newborn as though she could feel its warmth. Behind Linda, Karen stood frozen in the doorway, her duffel bag sliding from her shoulder and hitting the floor with a soft thud.
It's a miracle. She waited. The bobcat waited for Mary to see.
Stay with her. I think Mary's been holding on just for this. Don't let her go.
The bobcat began cleaning her firstborn, rough licks warming the tiny body. 2 more kittens were still to come, but for this moment, the world was still. Time dissolved into the rhythm of labor. The second kitten came swiftly, and the bobcat licked it clean, her amber eyes flicking to the window where Mary's silhouette barely moved. With a final, shuddering push, the third kitten emerged. The bobcat collapsed into the blanket, her flanks heaving, as 3 tiny mouths began to nurse. In the doorway, Dr. Harper appeared, still in his street clothes. A night nurse had called him. He opened his mouth to protest, then saw the tableau and stopped.
I should call security. I should shut this down. But I can't. I won't.
Mary's grip on Linda's hand slackened. Her lips moved, struggling to shape words that wouldn't come. Linda leaned closer, her ear nearly touching Mary's pale mouth.
What is it, Mary? I am here. Tell me.
Mary's eyes, still bright with that impossible light, met Linda's. Her breath hitched, and a whisper escaped, too faint for Karen or Dr. Harper to hear. Outside, the new mother raised her head. She stared directly at the window, as if she understood the words passing between worlds. Linda pressed her palm gently over Mary's heart, feeling the faint, irregular flutter beneath her lavender cardigan. In the stillness, the 3 kittens nuzzled close to their mother. And Mary, her task nearly complete, simply waited.
She remembered. We didn't keep her. She kept us. Tell them. Love is never wild.
Then her head turned toward the glass, where the bobcat nursed her litter. A soft smile bloomed on Mary's lips. Her hand on the window went slack. Linda felt the pulse beneath her fingers slow, then stop. A sob tore from Linda's chest. She pressed her forehead to Mary's still hand, her shoulders shaking. Dr. Harper stepped forward, his professional mask crumbling. He checked Mary's pulse, then simply nodded at Linda. Outside, the bobcat lifted her head and let out a low, mournful cry that cut through the snowfall. But she did not leave her kittens. She curled around them, her amber eyes fixed on the window, where Mary no longer was.
She held on just long enough. That's what you did, Mary. You held on for her.
The room fell into hushed reverence. Only the soft creak of the open window and the newborn kittens mewling filled the air. Linda rose, wiped her eyes, and looked out one last time. The bobcat mother met her gaze, then closed her own eyes, the circle complete. By dawn, word had rippled through the hospice. Karen found Linda in the hallway, and without a word, pulled her into a fierce embrace.
I heard. Mary's gone, and the bobcat. She really stayed. This changes everything.
Other nurses and even a few patients gathered in the corridor, drawn by the quiet, extraordinary gravity of what had happened. Dr. Harper walked to his office, closed the door, and dialed the board chairman. His voice was raw.
She died watching the animal she raised as a kitten give birth outside her window. The bobcat is still there with her newborns. We can't move them. Not now.
A long, tense silence followed. Then the chairman's voice acquiesced. The capture order was canceled, pending further observation.
It's done. The board will issue a reversal memo. They're safe.
Linda and Karen clung to each other, fresh tears spilling. Outside the window, The Bobcat family dozed in the pale winter sun.
Mary did it. Even at the end, she gave Lila a safe place.
The formal memo arrived later that day, but it was no longer needed. The window, still propped open, was testament enough. A few days after Mary's death, Linda found a wooden doorstop and wedged it under the window sash. The gap became a permanent promise.
We can't leave Mary's room empty forever, but I don't think we should ever close that window. Not now.
The Bobcat, now called Lila by everyone, watched the humans warily at first. Then one morning, she accepted a bowl of water Linda set on the patio. Days turned into a week. The kittens opened their eyes, wobbling on tiny paws in the spring sunshine.
Every time I pass this room, I half expect to see Mary's hand on the glass. But instead, there's life.
Linda began spending her breaks in the empty room, the wedge holding the window ajar. The soft sounds of the Bobcat family filled the silence. Sometimes Karen joined her, and they would sit without speaking, watching the kittens play.
Mary would have loved this. She'd say the circle keeps going.
Outside, the mother Bobcat sometimes looked toward the window, her amber eyes missing nothing. It was as if she remembered the pale hand that used to press the glass, and the window stayed open. A quiet vigil, a piece of Mary that refused to close. At the weekly staff meeting, Karen rose from her chair, her voice steady but charged with emotion.
Mary's final words were, "Love is never wild." We should build a sanctuary outside her window, a safe place for Lila and her kittens.
The room fell quiet. Then Dr. Harper, usually so reserved, simply said, "I think that's exactly what Mary would have wanted."
I'll help design it. A small fenced garden, native plants, a bench, a plaque, something that feels like Mary.
A committee formed that afternoon. For the first time since Mary's death, the hospice buzzed with a sense of purpose. Linda spent her breaks sketching on scrap paper, imagining where the path would wind, how the bench would face the sunrise.
We'll call it Mary's Sanctuary, for those who remember.
Groundbreaking was set for the first day of spring. The snow would melt, and the kittens would be sturdy enough to explore. Linda stood at the open window, looking at the patch of earth they had marked with stakes and pink ribbon. Lila watched from her box, her amber eyes tracking the humans' movements.
It's not just for the Bobcats. It's for anyone who needs to remember that love doesn't have boundaries.
Spring came gently. The snow melted into the soil of the new sanctuary. A small crowd gathered near the open window. Linda stood before the plaque, her voice steady over the murmur of the staff and visitors. The words Mary's Sanctuary, for those who remember, gleamed in fresh bronze.
Mary Harlow taught us that love is never wild. Her final words were a gift. Let this garden be proof that some bonds outlast time.
Many wiped tears as Linda recounted the night of the birth, the cold room, the open window, the dying woman's hand against the glass. Then, at the edge of the woods, Lila appeared. Her 3 half-grown kittens flanked her, their curious eyes fixed on the gathering.
Look, they know. They've come to claim it.
Lila stepped forward, her notched ear catching the sunlight. The kittens followed, crossing the threshold into Mary's sanctuary with the confidence of inheritors. One kitten pounced after a butterfly in the new grass. Lila settled onto the warm soil near the bench, her amber eyes half closed, as if she'd been waiting for this place all her life. Linda and Karen stood at the open window watching. The Bobcat family had come home.
The window stays open. Always.
As the seasons turned, Linda's routine remained unchanged. Every day, she checked the wooden wedge, ensuring the window stayed open. Sometimes Lila appeared alone on the sill, her amber eyes searching the empty room.
She knows Mary is gone, yet she still comes, as if waiting for the hand on the glass.
One evening, while tidying Mary's old room, Linda slipped her hand beneath the pillow and found a folded scrap. "I'll always be at the window."
She wrote this before she died. She knew she'd never really leave.
The next morning, Linda framed the note and hung it beside the sanctuary plaque.
Now you are always at the window, Mary. just like you promised.
Lila's kittens had grown. They bounded through the sanctuary, chasing butterflies and pouncing on shadows, and the window remained open, a promise kept long after the hand left the glass. One winter afternoon, a young nurse paused in front of the open window, her brow furrowed with curiosity.
You are wondering why this window never closes. Let me show you something.
Linda took the framed note from the wall and the old photo from her pocket.
Mary Harlow was a patient here. That bobcat in the garden is Lila. She raised her from a kitten 30 years ago.
The young nurse's eyes went wide. Linda gestured toward the sanctuary.
Lila found her way back to say goodbye. Mary's last words were, "Love is never wild. We don't close windows here." Not this one.
Outside, as if on cue, Lila and her 3 fully grown kittens padded across the snow toward the sanctuary. The new nurse stood transfixed, her skepticism melting into the cold air. One of the kittens hopped onto the sill, peering inside with curious amber eyes. The young nurse didn't ask any more questions. She just whispered, "I understand." Sunset turned the sanctuary to gold. The window of Mary's old room stood open wide, the curtain billowing in a gentle breeze. 2 half-grown kittens leaped onto the sill, their amber eyes reflecting the fading light. As they peered inside, Lila rested on the warm stones below, watching her children with a calm, knowing stillness. Beyond them, the bronze plaque caught the sun. Mary's sanctuary, for those who remember. The empty room held no sorrow, only the quiet certainty of a promise kept. A single feather, lifted by the breeze, drifted across the room and out the window. Some bonds don't end with death. They just move to the other side of the glass. The 2 kittens pressed their paws to the glass, just as their mother had done, just as Mary once did. And the light softened, the window remained open, and the sanctuary waited for another night. The screen fades to black.